Yes, Hornets, how are we? I hope you're doing well as you can after an opening day defeat at the Valley on Saturday. Just yesterday, over 24 hours ago, myself, Sam and Charlie were walking down the Thames on a therapy walk because our heads were a little hot after some of the full-time scenes. But look, if we give it, I guess we've got to take it. It did finish Charlton 1, Watford 0 at the Valley. The opening day of the 25-26 season. My name is Jacob Culshaw, joined by Sam Ucko and Charlie Zazzera. As always, we are brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Minds to talk through an opening day defeat. Now, Sam, before we went live, firstly, it's nice to be back on a Sunday doing these with you guys because it's therapeutic for me. I don't know about you boys, but I find it therapeutic. And I feel like yesterday there were so many different ways you could have seen that performance and result. As I've seen online, as a number of you have seen online, everyone's seeing this game slightly differently. You can see our instant raw reaction walking down the Thames, heading towards the O2, trying to find a pub, which we couldn't find for about 30 minutes, but we managed to find one in the end. And then we had a bit of a debrief. We calmed down and thought, you know what, let's have a little look at this game come Sunday night, more in depth. Sam, kick us off. I'm going to get straight into it today. No sort of, how was your day? How was this? How are you seeing this Watford result, losing?
Wow. Yeah, what a start, Jacob. Well, none of the formalities today, straight into dissecting it. And I think you're right to be fair, because I think this is a sort of game that we could spend so long talking about, because I think we could look at it from the positive perspective and from a negative perspective. And I think, I don't want to say it's because some fans are half glass full, half glass empty. I think it is because both the good and the bad were so prevalent in this game. I think, to be honest, if we walked away with it being 0-0, I think most fans would have gone fair enough. I think a draw probably would have been a fair result on balance of things. But because we've lost that game, I think obviously all the negatives are coming to the fore, and rightly so. But on the flip side, if you win it, it's obviously, I'm talking that it's obvious in football. If you win games, you're going to be happy. If you lose games, you're going to be disappointed. But there really wasn't much in the game yesterday. And it's the first game of the season. Taking a step back, I do think there were some positives and a lot that Watford can learn from as well, which we'll get into today.
Sure. Charlie, where do you stand?
Yeah, I think we put it as like in the thumbnail, but my main word when I looked through like some of the clips and like stats and stuff like that, like reflecting on it, is I'm just confused by a lot of things that happened, not just kind of tactically, but also some things before the game, during the game, on the sideline. So we're going to go through all of it. Confused by a lot of it, and I can see some rationale, some I don't understand, and we'll go through that today. I think there's positives, and I think that we were good at parts, like just like Sam said. But yeah, I think there's still it's a completely new team, it's a completely new style. So what are we expecting to play a championship game? And you got to remember, Charlton have been playing together through the whole of last season. I don't think they've lost at home for at least 6 or so months. And I thought defensively they were pretty strong, to be honest. But we'll go through all the details. But confused is my main feeling.
I just wanted to get those initial feelings before, you know what, let's have a little chat about the day, because it was a decent away day, wasn't it, lads? But I wanted to make sure that everyone knew where we sort of stood going into today, because I was in the same position as you lads, where I was really kind of thinking, well, Watford unlucky. I was kind of thinking, no. Did Watford play well at times? Was it some of the stuff we've seen before? Yes. And I'm kind of thinking, with players out, new manager, away game, Charlton have just gone up against Nathan. When you think of, it's one of those games, there's so many different factors that I think people are talking about that have impacted the result. And we will get into it today as a whole. Sam, as an away day, we said in our instant match reaction, we were going to rate every away day. Charlton I'd ever been to before. I don't know about you lads. I wasn't able, I was trying to think the last time we went to the Valley was not for a long time, maybe since Troy scored there. In like 2014-15. It was a long time since we've been there anyway, unless someone can remind me. Sam, as an away day, you got anything to add from the video yesterday?
Yeah, I think yesterday, and I was saying to Charlie just before we came on, I think yesterday when we did that raw reaction, I was more disappointed than I am now. Now I've slept on it, and I think it was a good day out. I think because it was the first day of the season, the sun was out. I'm not sure how. So apologies to people listening on audio, but I caught the sun a bit as well. So, Charlie as well caught the sun there as well. So, yeah, no, it was nice, and it's always nice to sort of see everyone that you haven't seen over the summer. It's good to catch up with YouTube properly. So, sort of taking a step back from it as a day out, I really enjoyed myself. I really like the stadium as well. Like when you're actually in your seats, it's a really good sort of old school ground, relatively good atmosphere. I thought it'd be more full considering they were saying it was their biggest turnout in however many years. But yeah, I know a lot of people had issues in the concourse area as well. I believe there was one working toilet in that away end, at least for men's. I think there was 2 people working on the bar. The queue for pints was ridiculous. So I think I gave it a 6.5 yesterday, and I'd probably stick with that. Good day out, good seats in the ground, everything else, meh.
Yeah, I think the less said about the concourse, the better, as Rio says in the comment section. Charlie, would you recommend the Valley as an away day? Good atmosphere, to be fair, wasn't it, in the away ends? I thought up until up until the 94th minute.
Yeah, like I think I tweeted. I think the highlight from yesterday in terms of love the new song. 7.70 for a pint. But yeah, I think the tone was set when Sam Ucko took us to a Spoons. They didn't serve beer, so that's how the day went on. So wasn't a fan of the concourse. We saw the queues, was ridiculous. So glad I ticked Charlton off, but I won't be going there. I won't be rushing back in a hurry. I did like the stadium when you go in; it's a proper ground, but I wasn't that impressed by their fans. I know, Jacob, you said you thought it was quite loud and they scored, but I thought they'd be a bit louder, a bit meh, really.
Yeah, I thought it was a good noise. Credit where credit's due for the goal. 94th minute as well. Look, they're gonna love it. And then we'll talk about the scenes at full time as well. But look, there's a lot to break down here. Before we do get into it, guys, please do leave a like on the video. Comment down below your thoughts in the live chat. If you're listening to this back on audio, drop us a 5-star review. If you do go on to enjoy the podcast, but also leave a like on our YouTube video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and follow us at WD18Fans so you never miss an upload and never miss a post from us, lads, if you fancy it anyway. But really appreciate you joining us on this Sunday evening. And we'll get straight into it. Look, let's go through the starting 11. If I share my screen here, the first team under Paolo Pezzolano was Eagle Selvik in goal, a back four of Ngakia, Caben, Abankwah and Bola, Sissoko, Loser, Kiprianu with Bar on the right, Dumbia on the left and Kurumgard leading the line. Now, Sam, when that lineup came out, we obviously learned that Matty Pollock is going to be out for a month or so due to an injury picked up against Deportivo. There was really the only big question mark, Sam, was probably who was going to play out what. Well, who was going to play centre-back was the first thing. I think we all knew it was going to be Caben and Abankwah. Then we were thinking who's going to play in the 10 and who's going to play out wide. So when you look at that lineup now, before a ball's kicked, were you happy with that lineup?
I think so. I think it was pretty much as expected after Matty Pollock's injury. I think we all, based on what we've seen in pre-season, I think we all knew it'd be Moussa Sissoko in there. And then the big question was whether it'd be Mamadou Doumbia or Rocco Vata on the left. He obviously opted for Doumbia. I think the club have suggested that Rocco's got a hamstring issue at the moment. So hopefully Rocco won't be out for too long. But I think it was as expected and probably as strong as we could go at the moment. Obviously, there's no Caleb Wiley, no Pollock, as we said before, no Georgie Chatfatazzi, no Rocco Vata. So I think in terms of how strong we can go at the moment and for the way we wanted to set up in this game, I think this was probably the right lineup.
Is the biggest talking point, Charlie, that Doumbia started on the left, despite Pezzolano saying that he thought, well, he's happy to use him as a winger on the left this season?
I think so, yeah. I was a bit gutted. Rocco has obviously had this issue. He's been absent for quite a few games since he's joined, so hopefully he can return and get some rhythm. And I think, especially in that first half, I think we missed someone who's used to kind of receiving it out wide and coming inside. Because I don't think Doumbia played badly. I thought he had a lot better second half. But yeah, that was a shame. The only other one, could you suggest, and it's been suggested from Barr himself, that he doesn't mind playing wide left and could have Urakunda started on the right or even on the left. So it's an interesting one that's going to see that dynamic of the front three as we go on throughout the season. But yeah, other than that, I don't think you can say too much. I mean, we'll talk about the changes, but again, something that I spoke about in the last video, I'm actually a bit concerned about the depth when it comes to our squad and when looking at kind of every position. So yeah, hopefully, I think now we might have to see where we are, especially with injuries we don't know the severity of some of the injuries, like a Banqua. We know we're light as centre halves anyway, so maybe there might be more activity towards the end of the window than we thought.
Yeah, that is a concern, Sam. Just on a wider point before we get into the game specifically, Richard makes a good point. We seem to have a lot of injuries for so early in the season. Now, we all know in the Championship season, there's going to be periods and phases where we're a little bit light in certain areas. But I think Ian mentioned it here. Pollock, Vata, Duomo, we're waiting to hear what's happening with Chakfadadze. But they're four players would be involved in the matchday squad, wouldn't they, if they were available and fit? There's an argument to say Pollock would start, Chakfadadze definitely would start, and then Duomo and Vata would probably, it depends on the game or it depends on the circumstances. Sam, it's a bit of an obvious question, but it does feel like a concern that is a situation that Petzolano in his defence is having to deal with before a ball's even kicked on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as football fans, we all occasionally do get a little bit greedy, and I think there's always ways of looking at things where you end up feeling a bit light. But I do think we look lighter than perhaps we thought we were, particularly in that number 10 role. If Chakfadadze is going to be out for a while, I don't think Sissoko had a bad game yesterday. Actually, I thought he did okay. Charlie, I know we slightly disagreed on that outside
I
the
think
ground.
I think it was Jacob who disagreed.
Maybe.
What did we disagree, Sam?
I thought Sissoko actually did okay yesterday in that 10 role, but 100%. If we're gonna with an actual number 10 playing there yesterday, if Georgie plays, I reckon we score and we definitely create more clear-cut chances. That final ball yesterday was sometimes just slightly off, and I reckon with an actual number 10 in there, we definitely have a better chance of scoring. So I think we're going to have to address that in the last bit of the window if Georgie's going to be out, not just for the long term, but I think as a backup option as well.
Someone made the point, what's up with Duomo at the minute? I'm not sure. I just saw on his Instagram story that he's picked up another injury. On Sissoko yesterday, Sam, it's not actually a slight at Sissoko himself. Look, that we all know that's not his preferred role. I think he's better a little bit deeper. But I think in this system, quite clearly early on, and look, we don't want to make snap judgments on a system, but you need to be connecting the midfield and the attack through your number 10, and you need that number 10 to drive you up the pitch and carry the ball yards. And that's what Georgie gives you, and that's what Georgie will always give you. And when he's not in the team, last season we saw a difference, and yesterday I saw a difference, not having a natural number 10 who can bringing the wide players more into the game. But actually, the biggest one for me, lads, Kirumgards, who we'll get into his performance as a whole. I actually thought he did pretty well. But a lot of the time when he was winning the flick-ons, when he was trying to lay the ball off, there was no one really around him. And I'm sure we'll have a look at the screenshots, Charlie, but it felt like that number 10 role is so important. I'm going to get a quote up from Petzolano as well, because he spoke to Adam Jury about this, about what he wants from his number 10. But I think it's actually crucial now. If the Georgie's injury is as serious as people are rumouring, we need to go out into the market and get someone else, because playing Sissoko in that role is not only not fair on him, but also for the team and for the function of the team. I think it's important we address that. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, it's an issue. And I didn't think Sissoko played too badly yesterday, but you're right. And we'll show it in a bit detail when we talk about Kurumgard's performance. And I want to touch on and look into detail how we built up yesterday. But I think it happened maybe once in the second half where we had like a midfield runner progressing the ball. And I think that was Imran Nusa. But apart from that, you didn't really see it. Big spaces between the lines. Like you said, Jacob, no one really connecting, no one taking it from the deeper midfielders or the defence and looking to play our wide men. It was all kind of getting it deeper and try to play longer. So, but when you say, oh, we need to recruit in that area, that is a specialised skill set position. Like the number 10 kind of it's gone. Pep Guardiola kind of killed the number 10. Do you know what I mean? When you had players like Mesut Ozil, and I know you've got players like James Maddison, but it's kind of seen as more athletes. So it's a really, really interesting position. And although I think Sissoko is a solid enough player, he's got good physicality. He kind of nicks a goal here and there. I think you're right in terms of getting on the ball, driving, and connecting with the attackers, because I felt our attackers were pretty isolated all game yesterday, really.
Agreed. And just to back that up, this is what Pezzano said after the Deportivo game. So we saw Jack Greaves play there, and he explained what he requires from his number 10 and how the role fits into what was, again, a very fluid tactical setup. He said, I want a good occupation of space on the pitch. Off the ball, they press forward, but on the ball, they play inside moments or outside moments. They change with the right back or left back who come inside. We want to take out the references for the opponent in different moments, sometimes inside, sometimes outside. For this, we need to improve more. It needs to be more clear, but we need time to create it. Every day we're working on this, on the ball, off the ball, when to press, where to press. It's a lot of work. My point is that he needs a lot from his number 10. Anyway, we're jumping a little bit further ahead. That's my bad as well. We've done the starting 11. I wanted to take you back, Sam. You're in the away end. You're next to Charlie. You're clapping the lads on. The handshakes are going on. And next thing you know, you just see this fella running towards the away end. It turns out it's Paolo Pezzolano, who's raised his arms. He's clapping the away end. He's done a little sprint, come over to the 18-yard box and sprinted away. The Watford fans were loving it. Let's not pretend like we weren't up for it then. There was a real roar when he came over. Are you a fan of that? Before a ball's kicked, Sam?
Yeah. I mean, I was loving it when I was sat there, obviously.
His water early on.
God. That's on for the highlight reel later in the season. But
cheeky Lampardian, nice and early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, seriously.
Yeah, I think it's I think as football fans, what we want is just to feel appreciated sometimes. And I think Paolo would have known that as a way of getting fans on side. In a way, or trying to get fans on side. We saw a similar thing against, was it Leyton Orient away? I think it was as well. He did something similar. So yeah, I think it's appreciated, and I don't think we've seen the Watford manager do that maybe since, I don't even know if Rob Edwards did that, to be honest with you. It's something that Rob Edwards would do, but I'd rather sort of the results come as well at the same time, to be honest.
Adam says it gets the fans going. I rate it personally. Question is, Charlie, I wonder if Pezzolano will still do it throughout the season, if we're good or bad.
Just people hurling abuse at him. It's running towards the rookie. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to see us produce good football and win games, really. And I think there was a lot to like about. I think there was some bits to like about yesterday. I don't think we need to go over the top and think it's crisis. It's literally one game. But yeah, let's just hopefully we'll see more positive signs and the results start turning.
Do you know what? On that, just before we get on, I know I keep saying it, I'm teeing it up. Someone did mention about Valon Bahrami, Sam, being on the bench yesterday. Now, Valon, is his technical title technical director?
Assistant sporting director, isn't it?
Right. No, okay. Do you know in the office with Gareth Keenan or Dwight Schrute saying they're the assistant to the regional manager in the office? It's a bit like that. He's assistant to the sporting director, whatever that is.
Sam, I have to say, right, so obviously the penalty decision wasn't given. The bench has gone crazy. Paolo Pezzolano was sat on his ice box doing a Bielsa for a lot of it. He kind of started on his feet going up and down, and then there was a period where I think he just thought, I need to watch this and just take it all in. But the penalty decision sees Valon Bahrami, who wasn't actually directly sat on the bench. It was like the little bit, that first row of seats next to the bench.
Yeah.
And you just see him jumping into the technical area. Now, what I will say is on the continent, and particularly in Italy, that is extremely common practice, having someone of that seniority into the technical area. In English football, Sam, it's not as common.
This is our game.
And quite rare. What are you a fan of our assistant sporting director doing that in the game, or are you bothered at all? Some people are, some people aren't.
Yeah, I'm mixed. I don't mind him being there. To be honest with you, it's something we've seen as a recurring theme with Watford. I don't know, sporting directors or head of recruitments. We've seen Giraldi's been down there, Giorgetta's been down there, Ben Manga would have been down there as well. So I can imagine Valon Bahrami would have been down there as well. I didn't like, though, how he was running over to the fourth official. I mean, surely that is a first for English football, having someone on the non-coaching staff running over and giving it to the fourth official, which was baffling. I can see both sides of the argument. I'm interested in what both of you think, because I think potentially it could undermine the manager slightly as well, having someone who's there purely to support the playing staff and the coaching staff getting that involved on a Saturday. I've also seen it suggested potentially that he was also there for communication purposes, because Paolo's English might not be 100%, but then I'd imagine you'd have some sort of translator in there. And Jacob's just got the image up there from yesterday of Bahrami going over to the fourth official. I mean, it's baffling. I actually can't think of a time I've ever seen that in English football before.
I think Tim makes a good point, actually. If it wasn't Bahrami, I would care more. And I actually agree with him. I think, mate, if we had seen Giorgetta do that,
100%.
I think there would have been, I mean, the reaction would be incredibly different.
Yeah.
Charlie, I mean, look, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think it's a style of, I mean, it's as I say, it's something you don't see in English football a lot. Clearly, Petzolano, I mean, just judging by the screen grab, kind of not expected it, but wasn't that surprised because he sat back down as Bahrami's delivering a few harsh words to the fourth official. But where do you stand on it, Charlie?
That scene there looks like when you're out and there's always that one mate who's a liability and he's mouthing up to the bouncer and you're like, oh, God's sake. I don't like it, really. I think the optics are bad. I think Watford haven't got the best reputation anyway. And antics like this, it's not going to help our cause, I don't think. I think the fact that Bahrami is a player we all love, so kind of some people might like it or kind of don't mind it. But like you said, if that was someone else, I don't think we'd like it at all. So yeah, where was Nanny? Was he in the toilet or something? Who knows? No, I personally hope we don't see this going forward, but who knows?
Do you think we will? I said to both of you, do you think come Tuesday night against Norwich and Saturday against QPR, it's going to be a new game? Where is Valon Bahrami sat? Is he in the director's box? Is he in the gantry? Is he in the dugout? Who knows? It's one to keep an eye on, but yeah.
Get him in the rookery.
No, I always remember at Vicarage Road, you'd see Giorgetta walk down the tunnel at full time, and you'd see various other. I mean, Giraldi. Imagine Giraldi doing this. I think it's very much this will be a plan of the season. I think you'll expect this for the season to come. But hey, look, we'll see.
What do you think the thinking is though behind it? Like, what's the reasoning?
So I'm not sold on it. It's the idea of the translation, because Paolo's assistant is the one that translates.
Yeah,
and
I'm also.
If you listen to Jeff Doyle's interview yesterday in the post-match, Paolo, tries to speak a bit of English, but he preferred to give the answer in Spanish, and then it was translated by Paolo's assistant. So for me, that's I don't think that's the reason. I think it's probably to get more of a feel of maybe in-game decisions, reactions, feelings. It's just to be as close as possible and to have the same view as the manager did, maybe to think why he did certain things, why he did other things. I know Dan's saying that Bahrami's role is not the same as Giorgetta. Nani replaced Giorgetta, but the point is that he's kind of the lieutenant's the wrong word maybe, but sort of the eyes and ears, I think, for Nani, and then Nani.
Do you think if that was that same position, but it wasn't a former Watford player who's liked by the fans a bit?
Charlie's left us on a cliffhanger. He's left us on a cliffhanger. Sorry, Charlie, say it again.
Sorry. Do you think if it was another person in that role, assistant sporting director, but it wasn't a former Watford player who's well liked, he would be there?
I mean, it's a good point. Could be part of the plan.
I mean, you've left us on a. Honestly, I actually don't know the answer. That pretty much sums up what
my gut feeling, though, just last thing on it, is to be continued. I think we'll see it again multiple times this season.
I agree. And I mean, look, will he be on the bench on a cold night in Stoke? And that's when we'll really know if he's going to be there all season. Look, lads, first half, let's talk more about the football and on the pitch stuff. Obviously, there was a lot of noise off it as well. But first 20 minutes was made pretty clear in the build-up, Sam, that we needed to battle, we needed to fight, we needed to make sure that we weren't bullied across the park, particularly when you go to Charlton, who are back in the Championship. It was a good atmosphere. They were up for it. Nathan Jones was clearly up for it as well. But I thought we managed that pretty well, right, Sam? I didn't feel like we were on edge. I felt like we were actually in quite a decent position. Why? Well, I guess what changed from that? Well, what did you think about the first 20 minutes? And then afterwards, did anything change to half time?
Really, really pleasantly surprised in that first. Well, I say the first 20 minutes. I think the first 2 minutes we were a bit frantic, and there were a few times where we sliced clearances and failed to really get the ball clear. And Charlton didn't really work it into any dangerous areas. So the first 2 to 5 minutes, like Rio said, wasn't unbelievable. But after that, I think we really took control of the ball. Like we mentioned before, we didn't create too much, but I think we're able just to take the sting out of the game and take the sting out of the atmosphere as well. I know we spoke about it at the start, but I thought, for considering what we were expecting were long balls into the box, being right under the cosh for probably the first half an hour of the game with the atmosphere right on top of us, I thought we dealt with it really, really well. And I was Egil Selvik, I'm not sure if you saw it, but in his post-match, he said that Watford need to grow up. And on the whole, I think it's a bigger conversation to be had about where Watford are at the moment, and it's difficult to tell. But I actually think for a game like this, it was the most mature I've seen a Watford team handle a start like that in a long, long time. Because previously we'd have absolutely collapsed in a situation like that.
Was that down to Charlton coming out of the blocks a little slow? I mean, they came out of the blocks quite quickly, actually. But did we just manage that first period, Charlie, and then it went a bit flat? Which is, I mean, we did take the sting out of the game, actually, looking back on it.
Yeah, I was actually a bit underwhelmed by Charlton. I thought they'd be more direct, they'd be more aggressive, we'd be more under threat. So although I think we're kind of thinking a bit more in the build-up and what's been said, we had to weather the storm. I don't think there was too much of a storm, just a few wins, which we handled all right. So I don't think there's a lot to read into it. I'm sure you've got, Jacob, I haven't got it on one of my tabs, but the momentum bar, you can just see it was like, we had a good spell, they had a good spell, we had a good spell. So I don't think we had that much. I don't think we controlled the game for any long consistent time. You can see there Charlton started well, then we got control and it was back and forth. The best period I thought was kind of early second half, and I thought we did gather real momentum, a couple of chances, a couple of balls across the box, a couple of corners. But yeah, I thought, to be honest, it was kind of two teams, but the quality was quite poor, really. So I think it was kind of two teams trying to find their feet in the first game of the season.
Lads,
yeah, I don't think. Sorry, Jacob. I don't think I was the only one here, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you two said, but yeah, I had a friend who was watching the game, and after about 20 minutes, turned it off, just not being able to believe how bad the quality was of the game.
Same here. Because we were on Sky, right? We were on TV. I have to, yeah, the quality wasn't great. If you take sort of your Watford glasses off and you think, if I was a neutral watching that, it's a tough watch. But for me, lads, I don't think there was any debate about the Watford man of the match, and that was, according to this, Egil Selvik with an 8.9. Look, we'll get into the goal and whether he could have done a bit better, Sam. But you mentioned his post-match comments there. For me, two good saves in the first half. One of them he was slightly blocked and was a really good save. The other one I think I'd expect him to make. Then second half he had another one to make as well, didn't he? But he's just a really calming presence, Selvik.
Yeah.
I don't think we even need to really talk about his saves as a whole, because you almost expect it from him. What I thought was interesting, though, Sam, was the passing out the back. Now, I saw a lot of movement on the sidelines about how it was supposed to be done. I thought it was going to be Selvik who passes it to the centre-back, but what was happening was Caben was taking it, passing it to Selvik, then Selvik was either passing it wide or he'd just go long straight to Kurumgard. That build-up from the back, what did you make of it? Did it look like a work in progress? Did it look like they just scrapped it after a little bit and went, let's just go direct? And if so, why do you think we tried to do that? Because it was quite clear in pre-season that Petzolano had said to Selvik, we're going to try and play out the back at every single opportunity. And that wasn't the case yesterday.
Yeah, it was I think what this Watford team are learning, and again going back to his comments about this Watford team growing up, is learning when to play the ball and when to play long, when to play short, and the right scenarios to play the ball forward. Because there were times where I think Selvik had the right idea, but whoever he was passing to, particularly in the wide areas, whether that's particularly Bar, who didn't have his best game yesterday, he's obviously still finding his fitness, and that will come, but just sometimes wasn't on the right wavelength with him. And I think at points we then had to go long because it was our only alternative, because I think Charlton set up quite well to block us in those moments. And while quite a few of Selvik's balls to Kjermgaard are actually quite good, I think another thing that we've got to work on is having those runners in behind after that as soon as he wins the flick on. Again, Jacob, I'm stealing both the stuff that you have said after the game, but Kjermgaard I think would be quite good in the front too. I think we can see that already, almost what we had with Deeney and Vidro, Deeney and Igalo. We have someone winning the flick on, someone running onto it. I think that's where it'd also help having that number 10 who's also got a bit of speed and can run in behind. And Sissoko might not have been told to do that yesterday, but that's a limitation in his game. So yeah, I think a lot of work to do, but I think the ideas were right on the whole.
Yeah, I'd agree. Charlie, from your perspective, what did you make of our performance first half overall? And before a couple of tactical changes, which we'll get into.
First half performance, average, feeding their way into the game. But like I said, I thought the quality was low. I didn't think Charlton were quite good. I thought we were really good defensively. Again, I thought quite solid. I think our back four, all of them, I know there's been difference of opinions, but I think all of our back four were pretty great. And Selvik, I think that defensive unit could be proud of their performance, especially Kevin Caben, who really calm on the ball, defended space brilliantly. Actually, everyone knows how highly I rate Abankwah, but I actually think Caben was the kind of A side yesterday. Thought Mark Bowler was fantastic. Thought Ngaki was great, especially second half with some of his passes. I think one of the most obvious kind of tactical things that we'd noticed was the inverting of our fullbacks, Bowler and Ngakia, and it's been around for quite a while now. It's to kind of create that, to get more bodies in the middle, like Petzolano said, displace other players, make them confused where they're marking, create space for others. But I think they did that all well. I thought Mark Bowler was great as well. Some really nice passes. So I think that was my big takeaway from the first half. But I did think we started the second half better.
Yeah, agreed. Should we get into it then, Charlie? Because I know you've done a few screen grabs and sort of your main takeaways from yesterday. Because it was weird. I actually thought on the whole, Charlton defended us pretty well. And if you actually looked at who had the better chances, Charlton did compared to us. Now, I think I described it. I was kind of really overthinking it yesterday because I was like, where do I stand after one game? Because I remember we beat QPR 4-0 under Ishmael and we were all going, wow, this is really exciting. This is great. I think for me yesterday, lads, it was just a case of Charlton were better in both boxes, really. I mean, we defended well, but they defended pretty well. I guess they didn't really have a lot to defend, but ultimately they should have really had a couple. Selvik bailed us out on one of them. They had the set piece at the end. When was the only real clear-cut opportunity I can remember, take away the penalties, was Kiprianu's header. Maybe that ball across the box to Kjermgaard, I think it was from Dumbia, was it?
No.
Yeah.
No, just there was one in the first half, and I know Lou Warnes has tweeted about it, kind of saying our opportunities, but Bar gets to the byline and he tried to cut it back to Kjermgaard. I should have got a screen grab, and the obvious ball was Dumbia. So there was a lot of moments like that, and we saw Dumbia put a great ball in as well. So we had our chances. But yeah, like you said, I think if you look at the amount of shots inside the box, Charlton had a lot more. They had a higher XG. I'll just quickly go through the screen grabs I have got on because it's about the kind of build-up and what we've spoken about already, really. So talking about that build-up, and we've talked about it when Selvik's basically been chipping the ball in, and we've talked about how good Selvik is. And again, what I was most impressed with him yesterday was his passing. I think he's got the 5th or 6th most accurate pass in the whole game. For a goalkeeper, that is really good. and he was clipping balls mainly to Kurumgard, but also to the other guys. And you could just see, and we've spoken about it. It seems obvious, but Kurumgard's winning the ball, and just no one is near him. You've even got Bar down here, miles away, and I think that was just a huge issue. And when I said I was confused about the game, that's kind of how I felt, really. And I thought this screen grab early in the second half was really a good way to show it, because Kurumgard's won another header, and again he won 9 out of 12 aerial duels against Jones, who is a giant anyway, and he was a real threat in our box. He basically helped get their winner. He caused a really good chance that we saved in the first half. He was really good in the air, and Kurumgard won 9 out of 12 against him, which I thought was impressive. But the thing that really confused me about this approach was how wide our wingers were, if we're knocking it into him, or if you're looking at it another way, which I think is more realistic, is the lack of players from him. So you've got Bar one side, Dumbia, they're literally on the touchline. Sissoko, I think this is Loser. There's just this huge space, and Kurumgard's winning so many headers, and just no one's near him at all. And that was just really confusing for me. And do you guys think that Pezzolano is going to be wanting the midfielders to be nearer to Kurumgard instead of the wide men?
I think so, yeah. If you look at particularly the areas that it was being headed into at times, I think the plan was particularly to get it back into the midfield. I don't want to say recycle the ball because it's part of the same attack, but then almost reassess and get Kurumgard further forward, and the wingers are ready if they're on that touchline and just ready to go into space over there. So yeah, I think the midfield's got to do a lot more, and you go back, if you're able to go back one, Charlie, and you look at Sissoko's positioning there, that's where I think Georgie would be slightly further forward, attacking that space a bit more. And we saw that a few times last season when the ball was played forward. And that's when Georgie's able to open up space, because you can see there, if he's able to pick it up almost in that centre circle, it's him running against those three defenders. Bar, Dumbia are able to get forward, and Kurumgard's able to try and break the line as well. So yeah, I think it's got to be on the midfield to get further forward in that situation.
And I think one thing that this tactic has been shown and quite effective, look at what it's done to their back line in both these shots. Look at the space that it's caused, because we've dragged all their defenders out wide. And this was an example that worked really well. Kurumgard's won the first header, and he's knocked it down to Mark Bowler, who's inverted. And look, Kurumgard's kind of on his bike here. And Mark Bowler, if he just puts a lot better ball kind of in this space, you can see there the advantages from kind of how the wingers have kind of pulled them wide. I'm just going through the other ones. I think this is a similar example. Yeah, same one where Mark Bowler, he'd nod it down. You can see Kurumgard there. He's on his bike, and there's a lot of space there to attack. So that's an example of it's working. This was another example where I think Kurumgard won it. You could see Dumbia in the top left there. It's just not quite close to him, and the defenders blocked it up. So it's an interesting tactic, and I just think, especially for Kurumgard's first game, it's such a tough job. Like, he's got to think about scoring and getting in the right places, but to have 12 times balls clipped into him and big meaty centre backs like going straight into the back of him physically as well, it's a really tough ask. So I'm not too sure how sustainable that approach is, if I'm honest.
No, I agree. And I think, if just to back that up, Charlie, when you saw in the second half, I think it was in the first couple of minutes, Dumbia tucked a little bit more inside, and it created one of the best chances of the game. Even when you look at some of the best areas we got into, it was when those two wingers were actually getting a little bit more narrow, which is one of the tactical changes at half-time, right? When we said how this... Okay, look, the biggest thing for me, lads, looking at the screen grabs, is the distances between the players. Like, we hear Carragher, Neville, all the pundits talk about it all the time between two strikers. The distances between the two players or the two midfielders. The distances between the front three was massive. The ball goes out wide to Bar, and he's pretty much on his own to just go 1-on-1 and see what he can do and get the ball into the box. Now, I think his end product needs to be better than it was yesterday. But look, it's one game. It takes time to get up to speed. And bear in mind, this is a young team. But I think the biggest thing for me, lads, when I walked out the ground yesterday was we're going to need more from that number 10 in this system if you want to play a lone striker like that, particularly like Kurumgard, because clearly he can hold the ball up. Clearly he can flick it on, but there was no runners near him when he wanted to flick on, and there was no runners really near him when he held the ball up and played it off, and we couldn't really build anything. So, Sam, how do we get around that? Is it a case of just going into the market and getting a 10? Or is there something that Petzolano can change with the midfield in order to make sure that someone's around him at all times? For QPR.
But so, yeah, I mean, with that second question, I think the answer to that is yes, someone's got to be closer to him. But I can't think of a midfielder that we've got other than Georgie, maybe Jack Greaves. But you know, it's difficult to rely on a young player like that to come in, as we saw yesterday.
Yembe?
Again, yeah, I mean, Edo probably is the best equipped to get closer to the striker, but I just like someone a bit more mobile, maybe someone with a bit of speed as well, who can as well at times switch it up, and Luke can almost flick it behind him, and the number 10 can run in behind. I think other than Chapfatazzi, we don't have that player, and I think therefore we've got to go into the market. So yeah, if I'm flipping your questions almost, I think yes, we need someone closer to him, and therefore we need to go into the market.
No, I agree.
Sorry, one of the things that it's hard to say, because from the back end of last season, our results were pretty poor. But one thing that I enjoyed the most was our build-up and how we use Loser. And I thought Loser yesterday, we'll talk about the substitution, but even before the substitution, he just wasn't getting on the ball as he used to. He only had 61 touches. And we were talking last season, sometimes he was reaching the 100 mark. He averaged 87 touches per game last season. And this new build-up that we're doing using Caben and the goalkeeper is kind of bypassing Loser, and I feel like he's not in the game enough. Whereas for me, he's our best player, and he's got the best passing range to break through the lines. So, because I know, Jacob, you kind of not disagree, but you quite like the idea of Loser higher up because of that quality. But I think Loser's got the skill set that we should be building up from, and he should be dropping deep, and he should be that third centre back, or the centre back should be splitting because he's that good on the ball, and he should be dictating. For me, yesterday, Loser was he was getting bypassed, and he wasn't in the game enough. And considering he's our best player, I think we need to build our approach a bit more around him, and I didn't think we did that yesterday.
Charlie, do you have his stats from yesterday?
I've got his heat map compared to last year, but
while you're getting that up, I was just on that. So basically, to for people who weren't in the conversation that I was in with the guys, I basically made the point that, as Charlie said, Loser wasn't as influential as he normally was. And for me, when you look at your best player, where do you want him? Now, when we bought Loser, I was told, well, not told, I read that he played as a 10 and played as an 8 for Morocco. And when he was at Nantes, he played a bit more advanced. Now, he converted into more of a deeper role when he came to Watford. And I genuinely believe that in that system, I would much rather Loser further forward, so he's more involved and more influential in the build-up. And particularly when you look at his passing range and his vision and his passing ability, I want him playing those balls in behind. I don't want him doing what he was doing yesterday, where he picked up the ball and he's ended up in his own corner winning us a goal kick. That's completely pointless. Where do you want your best player influencing the game? Not in the first third. You want them in the final third. And I just feel like Loser's such an intelligent footballer that realistically, I think he'd do a job there. But honestly, if you'd swapped Imran Loser with Sissoko yesterday, I reckon we would have created a lot more. And just said to Loser, he loves to find space. You know what Sissoko was doing, where he was basically sticking up onto one of the centre-backs, and you had Kurumgard on one of the centre-backs, and there was just a massive pocket.
But do you think all season we can rely on Kurumgard to be a backboard and like fizz it to him, and then him be the backboard, and Loser can get that second ball? I just think we played against Charlton yesterday, and I know he won loads of aerials, but I would just much rather see Loser getting on the ball dictated like he did at the back end of last season, personally.
Just, Charlie, do you have the heat map?
Yeah, and like, look, it's one game, and I think our approach could be totally different against QPR, so you shouldn't reach too many conclusions, but this was his heat map last season, so just look at kind of the red bits, and that was kind of his area, really. And if you compare this to yesterday, he's a bit everywhere, but like maybe you'd say his main areas where he's touching it is a bit higher, and you might say that's literally like 10 yards a bit further. So I'm not saying it's anything to draw big conclusions from, but that was one of my big takeaways of I just didn't think we maximised him. And that leads on to maybe, I know we've already been talking for 45 minutes, but for me, I think we lost total control of the game was when we had those, was it the triple substitutions? And I thought it was even more interesting when Sissoko went off first, gave Loser the armband, only for Loser to get taken off. So, Sam, thoughts on those subs?
Yeah, I wasn't happy at all with those subs, and straight away when they happened, I had a bad feeling. Yeah, I don't think that those subs were expected either with the players, and I think there was a change of plan in there. I actually think Kyprianou was going to be the player who was going to come off, and at the very last minute, because I actually think it was just after, it might have been just after Kyprianou's header that he should have done better with, and he made that run into the box. And I think potentially based off that, they changed their mind on the substitution. The reason I think they changed their mind as well was because the fourth official was having some issues with the board as well, with the numbers. I think he'd been told potentially to put in the number 5, but then had to change it to the number 6. So there was a slight delay and a clear breakdown in communication on the pitch, like you say, Charlie, because Sissoko had given Loser the armband and then Loser had to give it straight to Ince. It would just come onto the pitch. So yeah, I think we lost all control, and I think what's baffling, I think at the time most people, I was at least thinking, Loser's probably managing some fitness issue here. Based on what Petzolano said to Adam Drury at the end, which I'm sure Jacob will read out in a second. Not for me, those subs, because ultimately what he suggested was the plan transpired to cost us the game, I think.
Just for people who weren't aware, the 3 subs were in the 72nd and 73rd minute. You had Sissoko, Doumbia and Loser come off for Kiembe, Ince and Greaves. Then Adam Drury spoke to Petzolano in the press conference afterwards, and was one of the big conversation, why did he make those changes? The head coach revealed that Loser's withdrawal was a tactical change because he could sense Charlton's set piece growing. He said, in the last minutes, they were constantly going into the box, free kicks, throw-ins. I need a more physical player in the last 15 minutes. It was a moment in the game where I knew that sort of situation was coming, and it's a shame that we couldn't defend the last one. Charlie?
I didn't get a real sense that at that time of the game that we were getting bombarded. I think like last 5 minutes we were getting bombarded, and I don't know, I think maybe if we were to go in chronological order, we might want to talk about kind of the referee and the decisions, but I've got some screen grabs about how their goal transpired, and if you put that next to those quotes about physicality, seeing who was marking Jones, or it just doesn't match up. So shall we touch on the goal? Should we talk about the penalty charts first? All right, let's quickly go to the goal.
The referee was bad for both teams, by the way. Let's make that very clear. It wasn't just for Watford. It was a shocking performance.
Yeah. Do you guys know how that corner came about? I can't remember, but I imagine it was cheap.
I can't remember.
Was it Ngakia? Maybe I'm making that up. Sorry, I don't want to make it up. But I thought I remember there was a bit of, I think it came down the left-hand side, if I remember correctly. And Ngakia stopped across. Maybe I've made that up.
Anyway, let's just quickly look at these screen grabs for their goal. So they've got an overload on the back post, and it's quite hard to see. But marking Jones, who I thought was a threat in the air the whole game, or someone else, was Jack Greaves and Kiembe there. No blame at all on Jack Greaves. He gets kind of blocked off, but he was on Jones. Kiembe's not, I don't know where he's looking, to be honest. I don't know what he's looking at. And then if you look at the kind of the goal scorer here, it's Harvey Nibbs. And the person who was looking on him was another substitute, Ince. The next one here, you can see kind of Caben drops back. Kiembe's still not near anything. He's still looking. Kiembe drops back. Kurumgard jumped up as well. And then it kind of falls to Harvey Nibbs here. I don't feel like I could blame Ince too much, but he's nowhere near neither of these two guys. So both of them could have probably had a tap in. But this is a bit clearer here, kind of the setup. Having Greaves on Jones is criminal, really. And I think you can see with the second one, just looking there. So I think when it comes to that, when it comes to situations like that, and you see every time when you get players coming on the pitch and they're looking at their set piece coach going through the set pieces, surely it's not saying Jack Greaves. That's when you need a bit of a leadership. That's when it'd be nice to see someone like Matty Pollock on the pitch taking ownership, because it was clear in the first half Jones was so dominant in the air. I remember saying to Sam, like he rose really well and created a chance for them. So, and again, I think Petzolano said about the details, and it was a minor detail, but we know at this level of football we get caught. So, yeah, for me that comes down to the subs, and maybe having someone like Imran Loser, just maybe he wouldn't have marked him, but he might have had that leadership to get the group and organise who should be marking who.
I'll be honest, lads. I find the three changes absolutely baffling. To be completely honest, I'm still trying to work it out. For the Loser one, my only thought is I remember at Deportivo he picked up a knock and he was pretty uncomfortable with it, and I just wonder whether Petzolano was like, I don't want to give him a full 90. I kind of get that, but Sissoko coming off at that point of the game, whilst I said he wasn't amazing, he wasn't bad. It just you keep him on the pitch. The Ince one was interesting as well, I thought. But I think it's more the fact, as you say, Charlie, when we were having a good run in the game, it felt like there was a momentum building. I remember there was a couple of corners. The Watford players are really getting the Kurumgar did it, Cipriano. There was something building. There was something happening. And I think we were getting into some decent wide areas. I think Iran Kunda then came on 10 minutes before. And it was that 10 minutes from when he came on to when we made the changes. I thought, let's keep this going. And instead, the subs were made. And you've gone from a midfield of Cipriano, Loser, and Sissoko to Cipriano moving back, Greaves and Kiembe. So the whole midfield three has completely changed. I know Cipriano's has stayed on, but he's not playing in the same role. And he's now having to be the six. And then you're in a position. There was one point Cipriano had to fill in at centre-back because Abankwah went down with a hamstring injury. So my point is, it's just a lot of change at that point in the game. And I wonder, Sam, and it's just a theory, I wonder, Sam, was that him gambling going, we can nick it here with some fresh legs? Because I just wonder...
By throwing on Greaves, Kiembe and Ince?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because you freshened up the midfield there almost to give us more legs. The physicality point is wrong. Let's be honest. If you go man for man, it's wrong. Greaves is not as physical as Sissoko. Kiembe arguably is slightly more than Loser. My point is that those changes were made. I don't believe for that reason, personally. I think he was going to the game and I think he wanted to try and nick it when actually a point at Charlton is a fair enough result. We move on. Sam, do you buy that theory or do you think Petzolano is as a point there?
I can sort of get it again, not from the physicality point of view, but in terms of nicking it, I think Greaves, I mentioned before Chat for Tatsy, we don't have a player like him who can potentially get next to the striker or get forward and make those runs. I think Greaves is potentially closer to that, the closest we have in the mould of Chat for Tatsy, someone who can get really, really close to the striker. And I think that was the thinking, alongside whatever Paolo was thinking with the physicality from corners, which didn't pay off at all. So, yeah, I think, like I say, I don't think you can justify it at all, particularly with the result. I think if we'd got out of there with a 0-0, I think people would have gone fair enough. It's a point away from home, a tough place to go, newly promoted side, a Nathan Jones side, take a point 100%. But yeah, the way it transpired, not good enough at all.
I just wanted to get this up really, really quickly before we go through the penalty incidents. I know it's a longer stream today, but there was quite a lot to break down in a game which finished 1-0 because of the controversy. Was this interesting? We were talking about the areas Watford were playing in, and I just wanted to get the heat map, the attack map particularly. So the dark blue is where Watford had the highest concentration of their play. You look at the lowest concentration is the lighter colours. So most of Watford's play happened in that part of the pitch. So that's why in that second third, when I said Watford were better, they were, because they had dominated it. with 15%. Well, I say dominated, had the more possession. But you look at both boxes, that needs to be darker. That needs to be a lot more concentration. And particularly at the back, that's fine. But that part of the pitch, you look at where we're playing, that is a slight concern for me, because that was a theme of last season as well. So that is something that I'm sure Petzlan will be looking at. Charlie, should we go through the penalty incidents and just rattle these off?
Yeah, we'll go quickly. And I do think we should talk about some positives, because I think there was quite a few, and it is only one game. So quickly go through the penalty incidents. And the reason I've said penalty incidents is because although I think the ref had an absolute shocker all game, I did think we got away with one massively in the first half. You can see here, is this one a bit better? But yeah, I think Ngakia misjudges it, gets nowhere near the ball. You can see their player gets a head on it, and Ngakia's kind of motion takes him out. So the ref there has got a nice view of it, but decided it weren't a penalty. But the thing that struck me when I look back at our one, and I haven't got it here, this was the time. This was in the 90th minute, 91st minute. Can you imagine if we would have got this penalty and had that in front of the away end to win it? Oh, it would have been bedlam. But I just don't know what the referee's think. Well, I think I know what the referee's thinking. I think he's missed one previously, so he's going to even it up, and that's why I can't moan too much about it, because I think they should have had one. And I think the ref, we asked for consistency. He was consistent, but consistently bad. But yeah, is it anyone who doesn't think ours was a penalty?
It's a stonewaller, isn't it? I think both are penalties, by the way. Nathan Jones said they should have had two, one in the first half as well.
Don't say his name.
Did you agree with that, Sam?
I can't remember what the one in the first half was. There was a moment, I can't remember who it was on the floor, and it might have been Bola or Ngakia was trying to win the ball back when on the floor, and it was a bit of a heart in mouth moment. But I can't remember. Someone let us know in the comments maybe what the first half penalty call was. But yeah, you're both right there. They were both penalties, and I think it evens itself out, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think both teams have a right to feel hard done by the ref.
Just on that Irankunda one, look at where Irankunda starts. Before he sprints from like a 5 yards, the defender had a 5 yard start on him, and he managed to get there and get around him. I'm really excited for him, because I think there's something he's got that. Even just in the brief bits I've watched him, he's absolutely electric. But lads, should we just break? We've talked about the goal, we've talked about the penalty, we've talked about the main incidents. Charlie's absolutely right. It wasn't all doom and gloom. Look, I think it's one of those results where the last minute goal maybe does influence your opinion quite a bit, because if we'd come out with a 0-0, you would have gone, it's a decent point on the roads, but we didn't. And standouts and disappointments, I'll go with the standout first. I thought Kyprianou was a real standout for me. Fantastic engine. I thought he was better second half. I love the communication he has between the players as well. Really good at sort of organising and being in people's ears and telling them where to be. He's got captain material about him. You can tell he's going to be one of the leaders in the dressing room. Lads, any other standouts?
For me, I thought Jeremy Ngakia was great. I thought his 1v1 defending was really strong. I thought even when he was on the ball, he was solid. Second half, he put in two great crosses. One to Kyprianou, who, although it's one of those, maybe should have done better. But I just think the fact that maybe as we're talking, I'd quite like, I haven't done it yet, but I'd quite like to look at Kyprianou's heat map, because he's like the white Kante absolutely everywhere. He was outstanding, and I'm really excited about him. And then, like I said about earlier, I thought Mark Bowler was really, really great. And that competition, that left back spot is going to be a tough one all season if Wiley like he was at the second half. And I want to shout out Kurumgard, because I thought his link-up play was really good. I thought the way he battled was great. I thought off the ball, he was showed great effort and tenacity. He didn't really have any real clear-cut chances. I think there was one maybe ball across the box. It would have been nicer if he was busted a gut to get there. But I thought, considering it was his first game, I was really encouraged by his performance.
Kyprianou's heat map was really good. I thought Kevin Caben as well, Sam, was a standout for me, particularly when we're looking to play out the back. If we can keep him fit, I think he'll be a mainstay actually, which might be an early call. But I thought he was really. My three standouts were Selvik, Caben, Cipriani for me with the three. I thought Ngakia was decent. I guess if the penalty had been given, we would have had a different conversation. But Sam, for you, standouts, disappointments?
Standouts, yeah, definitely Selvik. Cipriani was absolutely brilliant. I think we'll see Hector score 5, 6, 7 goals this season by drifting late into the box and having chances like the header that we saw. I was impressed by both fullbacks. I thought Bolo was good, and I thought Jeremy and Ngakia had a good game as well. And I just think for the likes of Quadro Bar, I think he's still obviously he's not at full sharpness yet, and that will come. Obviously, we saw glimpses of him at his best, but also I think it's still going to take some time for him to be the Bar we saw in sort of December time last season.
One name that's just been mentioned before we wrap up, Tim White. There was a rumour, I think it was Luon's tweeted earlier, that we are looking for another midfielder, and Zaraga from Udinese seems to be a midfielder coming in, will help a lot, I think. Now, that is just a rumour that's gone around. He was at, if I remember correctly, Atletico Bilbao, played for Udinese. He's 26 years old. I've just searched that bit up. And he's been linked with a move to Watford. If I look at his transfer marked, they have him down as someone who's an 8. So that's one just to keep an eye on, potentially on a loan this season. Lads, should we do just touch on Nathan Jones very, very briefly? Let's make it perfectly clear. He was getting pelters from the away ends, and I'm just in life in general. I don't know about you lads. I'm very much the opinion if you dish it out, you've got to be able to take it. We dished it out. He then gave it back. One of those things. I did enjoy the Watford players just having a word with him as well. I think Cipriani went up to him. I think Bar was also just saying, mate, come on, steady. But Sam, did you, was your, I know Charlie's was, but Sam, was your head on Mars?
You see my head being so red. I haven't been in the sun. That's from Nathan Jones.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you dish it out like we were, and I think deep down we all knew it was going to happen. If we lost the game, we knew he was going to give it to us. So yeah, very, very frustrating and difficult to see. But hoping the Vicarage Road game, we can repay the favour. I mean, it's the way that football works. Like, I know it's different, but the way that Bar reacted after that Portsmouth game, as Watford fans, we were all loving it at the time. And yeah, it's one of those, you love it when it's your own team. When it's against you, it's one of the worst feelings in football.
Go on, Charlie. I'll just give you 20 seconds to talk about him.
Another hour to talk about
when they scored, my eyes first went to watching Nathan Jones on the touchline, just going mad for about 1 minute, and that was my soul left my body then. And then for him to come kind of towards us and then do it, I turned into the very, very worst of a football fan for about 30 seconds, I reckon. But soon calmed down. So yeah, I do agree with you. If you give it, you got to take it, and hopefully we can dish some back to him at the Vic.
And then we're back at the Vic on Tuesday, lads. Carabao Cup action. Busy week. Obviously, we had the Saturday game, then Norwich Tuesday, then QPR come to town on Saturday as well. Sam, from what I understood from Petzolano's comments in the presser, he's going to rotate it. He's going to change it. Who would you like to see start?
Yeah, I think the big question for me, thinking about my team, is who's going to play at centre-back. Because you imagine it will be Max Elaine, who came on for his debut, plus one other. Now, we don't know how fit James Banquet is going to be, having come off with a slight knock yesterday, I think it was. I'm not sure if it was a precaution. And I can't imagine if a Bank was carrying something, they're going to risk Kevin Keben as well. So I think potentially we could even see Cipriani slot in at centre-back, or Mark Boller play at centre-back. But other than that, yeah, I think it'll be a chance to see Nathan Baxter, Ryan Andrews, James Morris will probably come in at left back, and then Kayembe, Tondeli Bashiru, Semedo might get a run out, and a chance for Iran Kunda to build some of his fitness as well.
Norwich also lost their first game, Charlie, at home to Millwall 2-1. The best way to wrap up is how much do we care about the cup is the question. I'll be totally honest, lads. The championship is the priority this season. It'd be great to have a cup run. It'd be great to have a day out. But let's be honest, especially in the Carabao Cup, the big boys come in and it kind of the writing's on the wall. So is it more just about using the squad, I guess?
I think the only issue is if we lose on Tuesday and we lose against QPR on Saturday, it's bad vibes. So yeah, I'm sure they'll play a completely different team as well, but they have thrown loads of money at it again. Hopefully we don't get to see Papa Diallo in yellow at the Vic on Tuesday. So I don't know, but yeah, I think I'm excited to see Irakunda. Hopefully he can start, and hopefully he can get into a bit of rhythm, and hopefully he's as good as we all hope he is.
Absolutely. Charlotte said new chair. No, do you know what it is? I've kept the fire label on just in case. You just never know. And to be honest,
they use it for a year, then take it back to get a refund.
Very true. I think it was on discount anyway. Just to wrap up, Sam has made this prediction table, colour coordinated the lot. Absolutely got so much time for that, Sam. So 1 point for myself and Sam for our result prediction against Charlton. We both predicted a defeat. Charlie went with a score draw result, obviously 1-0 Charlton. Norwich in the Carabao Cup, Charlie.
I think we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose 2-0. Thing is, I have to take this seriously now. I hate predictions, but I'm competitive, so I'm going to have to take this seriously.
Right. Charlie's gone 2-0 Norwich.
If we're going, this is after 90 minutes. I'm going to go with 1-1 after 90 minutes. It'll go straight to penalties, but we'll go with what happens after 90.
Whoa! Are you making the rules up, Sam?
I'm making the rules up. Yeah, I've spent the time getting this together.
If
it finishes 1-1 and Norwich win on penalties, are we saying Charlie gets a point?
You made the rules, Sam. Sam.
I mean, you just made them up, Sam, just literally on the spot.
Yeah, I think we go with the score after 90 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to go with 3-1 Norwich.
We're so positive on here.
Well, I don't know why. I just think, well, I do know why.
Diallo's definitely scoring, isn't he? He's definitely scoring.
It's always one of those weird games as well, lads, where you've got loads of new players and younger players who just never play together at all. Dan did say, "My God, you lot are pessimistic." I hope we're not speaking it into existence, but I'm gonna. Yeah, to be honest, I don't think it's the end of the world if we did go out the Carabao Cup. Look, I'd love a run, but it's not. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And Norwich do have a good record against us, but we will see. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday night, Sam, Charlie. Any final thoughts?
Up for Tuesday. Let's get back to winning ways, and then the big one on Saturday to get into those.
Sam,
the CZ derby. Yeah, it's early days. I mean, I was going to say don't read too much into it, but we've spent an hour and 7 minutes reading too much into it. So, early days and hopefully stuff that we can work on and build on. Listen, Nottingham Forest didn't start their season well a few years ago and end up in the Premier League. It's one game. We go again on Tuesday and go again on Saturday.
And what a comment just to wrap up from Liam. Thanks so much, Liam. Just started really getting into the theory of Watford since November when I started watching it with my long-term supporter, Dad. I'm enjoying your content so much, guys. Liam, it means the world, mate. Thank you so much. And probably the best way to wrap up are what we learned from Charlton 1, Watford 0. Carl, top man as well. We will see you, lads. We'll probably jump on one on Thursday, maybe. We probably won't do an instant reaction. Oh, to be fair, Sam, we're doing instant reactions this season, aren't we? So maybe we'll have an instant reaction after Norwich, like a little 5-minute review. Thursday, we'll have a stream of sorts, or Friday, and then we'll be back on Sunday. Thanks so much, guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Keep smiling. Keep supporting Watford, and up the audits. You want?